Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? The Duckster's back, week 5. We got a juicy slate, gonna get right into it here. Just want to touch on last week. That was our first losing week. We got our teeth kicked in, basically. We're not gonna cry over spilled milk, though. We have a bankroll and an amount of money each week that we are going to wager. And if we lose or light it on fire, we really give no fucks about it because we've set that money aside. So it's about $400 in the tank for me last week. Still profitable for the year, but that definitely, we felt it a little bit, not worried about it. It was a wacky week. Hearing a lot of the industry experts through the week talk about it. It sounds like everybody got crushed. Just some wacky stuff that happens every now and again in these crazy NFL games that we're trying to predict. So on to week 5. Gonna go over basically some of my favorite plays. And I have 2 cash game lineups for you guys. 2 with kind of similar builds, but one we're going to punt the QB position and the other we're going to pay up for it. So I'm going to get into a couple of my favorite plays right now. We'll start with quarterback. Favorite QB of the week is Deshaun Watson. This game is also my favorite game stack of the week. Atlanta at Houston. Game total 49 points. I think this could be a track meet, and I think there's going to be a lot of points scored. I think there's going to be a lot of fantasy production to be had. We have studs on both sides of the ball. Really like Matt Ryan this week as well. He is priced, I think, at $5,900, and Deshaun is at $6,700. So somewhere in that range, you can stack both those guys. You can stack Matt with Julio. You can stack Deshaun with DeAndre, and we're going to go back to the well with Will Fuller this week as well. I'll talk about that in a second. So loving Deshaun, loving Matty Ice. You'll see Chase Daniel in my cash game lineup, and you'll see why. I do not love him, but I love his price. I think he's going to get us 12 points, potentially 15. That's all we're really going to need with this build that we have. Additionally here, my second favorite game of the week, and I'm not trying to be a homer with this, but Arizona at Cincinnati. I love Andy Dalton. I don't love Andy Dalton this week. I don't ever love Andy Dalton, but if there's a spot where you're going to play him, it's this week. Arizona's terrible. Cincy's terrible. Again, game total with this is 47 points. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored. There's going to be fantasy gold potentially to be had on both sides of the ball here, or both sides of the matchup. Kyler Murray, David Johnson, Larry Fitz, even Keyshawn Johnson. We'll talk a little bit about that. And on the Cincy side, we got Andy Dalton, Tyler Boyd, and this week's chalk pick, Auden Tate. We'll go into that as well. So that's really my QB selection. I got a little bit of Lamar Jackson going, a little bit of Carson Wentz, and those are pretty much my guys that I'm kind of hanging my hat on there. So for running backs, we got a lot of chalky, a lot of guys that have pretty good matchups. Nothing is jumping out too crazy. You got to pay up for these guys, but you're going to have to get one of them in your lineup, and I think that's how we're going to have to build this week. So we got Zeke at the top, Dalvin Cook. Don't need to talk about that. I do think that Minnesota's going to throw the ball a little bit more today with the whole squeaky wheel thing with Thielen and Diggs coming out, airing grievances. Kirk Cousins awful, but I still think they're going to feed Dalvin 20, 25 times on the ground and really try to dominate this game like they've been doing all year, which is giving the ball to Dalvin, playing a game control, clock management type of game, letting their defense do work, and feeding that man that needs to eat, Dalvin Cook. Got David Johnson. Love him this week. He's going to be in a ton of my lineups. He's getting a ton of looks. I think he's actually going to find some room finally on the ground this week against the terrible Bengals. He's also going to get 5, 6, 7 receptions. PPR, we know that's Studley, so we're loving David Johnson this week as well. And Leonard Fournette. How can you not love this guy after last week? Now, he's going to regress a little bit back down, but I think he's getting all the touches. He's getting pass catches. He's getting all the touches out of the backfield, goal line work. They're feeding this man. 30 touches is within the realm of possibilities that we're looking at this week. And I think, again, for his price at, I believe, $6,400, looking like great value this week. Now, another guy that I'm loving, especially at his price point, and I feel like this is his breakout game, it's David Montgomery. Tried to make a trade with Kevin this week. He declined it. Maybe he's seeing the same thing as I am, but really, really loving David Montgomery this week. Love him to blow up. Again, I think this is going to be a game control type of game for the Bears. It's a London game. They've been known to be sloppy, but they usually produce decent defensive stat lines and good running stat lines. And we're loving David Montgomery at 5,200. He's got an increased workload each week from week 1 until current. He's also getting some pass catching duties, and he is just they are feeding him more. I think they realize that he is pretty talented, so we're loving that. A dart throw in tourneys. I do like Le'Veon Bell. I like them to be playing behind. He's going to get again, 6, 7, 8 plus passing catches, receptions there, and he's going to get the ball. They're going to put the ball in his hands as much as they possibly can because they really don't have a lot of talent on the offensive side of the ball. But Lev Bell is still one of the top best running back athlete that we have in the NFL, so they're gonna feed him. Wide receivers, we're loving all the way at the top. So we talked about Julio, we talked about DeAndre Hopkins, loving these guys. Chris Godwin, loving him. Adam Thielen, bounce back game today. I don't have him in my cash lineups, but I wouldn't fault anyone for doing that. I do think that the squeaky wheel is going to get some attention today, and I think that they are going to make an attempt to get Thielen the ball. I like Thielen well over Diggs. I think Thielen could have 80 to 100 yards catching and a touchdown, although that offense doesn't have to pass, so it's a little bit of my skepticism there, but I do think he has a bounce-back game. Auden Tate, we mentioned him a second ago. So this is Cincinnati's slot receiver. We have John Ross on IR. We know A.J. Green isn't there. Auden Tate has been getting some burn anyways, even with John Ross on the field. Now he's not. I'd look for him to be the second option in this offense in a high-scoring game. He is min-priced at 3,500. He is going to be chalky. It's going to be a ton of people on him. I'm actually fading him in most tournaments now. After hearing a lot of analysis, a lot of research across the industry, everyone is on Auden Tate, but I still think for our cash games, you're going to see him in both lineups. And I do like him, especially at that min price. That gives us a lot of room to work. We love Larry Fitz, like we said. A pivot play from that or a game stack possibility there. We can get Keyshawn Johnson in. With the Christian Kirk injury, I think we need to check his status. I don't know if he is in fact out. I believe he is. But Keyshawn Johnson could be a sneaky play. I think he's min priced too at like 3,500. But above that, we're loving Larry Fitz. Target monster. He doesn't age. I think he's a robot. I'm not really sure. But we're loving him. A couple big GPP plays here I want to get into. Back into that Jets game. Robbie Anderson. He's going to be less than 2% owned. He's priced at 4,500. Eagles secondary. Garbage. They've been lit up every game this year, every week. And we could see Robbie Anderson putting a double move on one of their DBs and gone as long as Luke Falk can get him the ball, which is the question mark. I would not play Robbie Anderson in more than 1 or 2 lineups, but I think he is a good lineup differentiator in big tourneys, and I do think that he has a very good possibility of returning a lot of value for us and differentiating our lineups, which is something that we love. Got Josh Gordon also, I think, is an awesome GPP play today. Washington's putrid. Check the status of Edelman. I don't know what's going on there, but I just feel like a Josh Gordon blow-up game is coming, and I think this is a great spot. So I'm liking him. Similar to Robbie, I would play him in 1 or 2 tourney lineups. And also liking a little bit, I hate this guy generally, but I do think it sets up pretty well today, but Alshon Jeffrey. I don't like Gayshawn. I never have been on the Gayshawn train, but the Eagles have to throw to somebody. He's a huge target, and I do think that he finds the end zone today. Pretty good price, I think, also like 5,900, so he's looking pretty good. Tight ends, all right. Tight ends, kind of a weird week with tight ends. Everybody is going to be on Tyler Eifert at 3,300 versus Arizona. I am fading that 100%. I think it's just too chalky for the production that he's put up. And I think that we have a pivot play, and you'll see, I think, in one of the cash lineups, but also I think a good tourney play to pivot off of that for 100 more is Jared Cook. Okay, the Buccaneers, fun fact here, they are the second worst defending the tight end, second to Arizona, and they are giving up the second most points to tight end. And I do think this is a decent spot for Jared Cook, and he's minimum priced. Plus, he's going to be much lower owned, and I think that can really differentiate some lineups as well. But I also think he's a good cash play. Well, not a good cash play, but a decent cash play. Good in the fact that he has minimum pricing, so we can really work with that. Other than those two guys, we're looking at my favorite tight end of the week right now is Mark Andrews. He is finally, his injury designation is gone. He said he feels less tentative, or the reports are he's less tentative in practice. I think he got a limited practice in Friday, no injury designation, and Lamar Jackson basically has three primary options of how they score points. Lamar is either throwing bomb titties to Marquise Hollywood Brown, he's tucking the ball down and running, or he's dumping it off to Mark Andrews. 8 targets a game the past 4 weeks. Look for that to continue. Also, his pricing is still low, 4,800. I mean, it's one of the best values on the board this week. So Mark Andrews, loving him. Evan Ingram has a tougher matchup. So does Darren Waller. Those guys are still in consideration. I also like some Greg Olsen this week. I actually had him in one of our cash lineups, but I've taken him out. We'll talk about that in a second. I replaced him with Cook because that gave us a little bit more room to work with there. Now, our defenses, we got the low-hanging fruit. The Patriots, we know that. They are going to probably score a ton of points. We got the Bears, we know that. I also like the Jags as a mid-range price. On the other side, I like the Panthers as well. I like a little bit of the Titans this week. And then for our min price, which we're going to do in our cash games, our min price defense, I actually like the Pittsburgh Steelers. Their defense is not awful. They are actually a good, stingy defense. I look for this to be an AFC North battle today between the Ravens and the Steelers. And they are priced at 2,100. They need to give us 6 points. So I think we can punt defense and rely on that. So let's get into some of these lineups here. First lineup. So this is a value QB lineup. We're punting QB. I told you guys we're also punting defense in both the lineups. So we're going to go with Chase Daniel. You shouldn't feel great about this, but you should feel awesome about the price at 4,800. Soft, cupcake soft matchup. It is a London game. I look for it to be probably a more of a ball control game. But he gives us 12 points, and we're pretty stoked, and I think that's very, very likely. He looked actually really good last week in some limited time there. When he was filling in, well, he filled in most of the game, actually. I think he played 3 quarters. But he looked pretty efficient. His passes were crisp. He clearly knows the offense very well, and I think that he's going to return some value for us. But that low price gives us some room here to really hammer down the running back and wide receiver position. So next we got Dalvin Cook, David Johnson, Julio Jones, Auden Tate, Will Fuller. Look for Will Fuller today to finally return value. He's priced at 4,500. And I love the play there. We got the Julio, Will Fuller game stack. Like I said, we talked about at the beginning there, a lot of points to be scored. And I think Will Fuller is going to pay off extremely well today. Tight end Mark Andrews, flex Leonard Fournette, and defense Pittsburgh Steelers. So we got Chase Daniel, Dalvin Cook, David Johnson, Auden Tate, Julio Jones, Will Fuller, Mark Andrews, Leonard Fournette, and Pittsburgh Steelers D. That's our first lineup. I got $50 on this lineup, and I'm going to have another $50 on my second lineup that we're going over right now. So second lineup here, we're going to pay up for QB. And we are going to punt tight end and, again, punt defense. So Deshaun Watson, Leonard Fournette, David Johnson, Auden Tate, Julio Jones, Keenan Allen, Jared Cook, David Montgomery, like we talked about earlier. Loving David Montgomery today. And then Steelers D. So Deshaun Watson, Leonard Fournette, David Johnson, Auden Tate, Julio, Keenan Allen, Jared Cook, David Montgomery, and Steelers. these are my lineups. We're going to have a much better week this week. Things are not going to be as weird as they were last week. I think we're going to correct, and we're going to smash this week. So good luck, everybody. Enjoy your Sunday. I'm going to go build a few more lineups. Peace.